And I talk about the South Africans because I hate to see them suffering in the way that they're suffering. Shanty towns. In the country of your forefathers, you live in shanty towns. With a South African woman, oh, masterpiece. Dark skin, even. Just the waist this big, thick, with the yayas, pretty little thing. Fresh water. And we were walking down a street in Cape Town, and at night I wanted to have a bite to eat, and I start walking into a restaurant / bar, and she just grabs me. She's like, "You're gonna go in there?" I was like, "Yeah, it's the only place open. Where else would I go?" And she's like, No. Don't you see it's all whites?" And I was like, "For sure I can see that. Like, how am I not seeing that it's all whites?" I was like, "Yeah, we're in Africa. That's crazy. Should we go tell them that this is Africa? They need some blacks in there. I'm just hungry. I don't want to go mix in. I just want to eat. What do you think? Are they gonna poison the food?" She was like, "We don't really go in places like that." I was like, "Are you not allowed to?" She was like, "They'll let you in there, but they don't really want you in there." Now, at that point, I don't want to go eat in there. I'm like, you hear me? If they don't want me in there, I don't want to eat in there because I just don't know what they're going to do to my food. But there was also a level of feeling inferior that she had that I don't have, being a Black American and also being a successful man. And just to see them still suffering so badly this many years after on their homeland, it hurts me. And the reason it hurts me is because the South Africans should be able to exist with a greater pride even than the Black Americans, because we will always be minoritized in this land. We're 12% of the population. Whereas the blacks in South Africa are the overwhelming majority. They're 90%, and you still have a boot on your neck. So it saddens me to see you be dominated at such a level. It hurts me. And so sometimes out of pain, I speak out against them because they're in such a level of suffering, mostly of their own making.
So I was watching a video of this young Black American talking about South Africans being dominated by a small group of white people in a majority Black country. And he was alluding and showing that obviously people always obviously attack him or say certain things in comment section pertaining him talking about this matter. And yeah, I thought to myself, welcome to Africa. This is how Africans behave. Africans are not interested in taking responsibility, because in this video, as you can hear, it's kind of like putting it as a challenge to Black people that why is it you have normalized it? Why is it that you have accepted that as a status quo? Also see it over and over again. So many other Black folks, well-to-do Black folks, well-educated Black folks like the Vusi Tembekwayos of Africa, they always say the same thing, that sometimes they feel like giving up and trying to reach out to Black people and trying to say, look here, yes, we understand the status quo and the situation and the history of colonization, but the idea is not to fixate on the problem. This is the problem with Africans. This is the problem with us Black folks. Because, just like anything else, just like anybody else, responsibility is not a thing that many people would like to take. Okay, in anything that we do, it's human nature that people will rather externalize responsibility as much as possible. They don't want to feel like they are the problem. But when we try to reach out to Black folks and say, listen, we understand, and I know and I understand as well about this colonization thing, about how bad it is, and everything that is going on in Africa. But the problem, let's not fixate on the problem. Let's get to do the action, which is the thing that we must do in order to change the situation. The talking does not change the situation. The only thing that changes the situation is the action, is us as Black people. The idea of Black excellence is not about talking about Black excellence. It's about doing the things that makes Black people excellent. It is about educating ourselves. It's about encouraging entrepreneurship. It's about encouraging Black folks to go out and till the land and grow crops so that we can feed ourselves. That is the thing which changes the situation, which goes against neocolonialism, because they thrive when we are weak. So the solution is not to cry and sit back and complain more about it, but to stand up and rise to the occasion. We have a problem of not being able to feed ourselves. That's why when I say Black people should stand up and till the land so that we can feed ourselves, that is the message. I'm not trying to downplay the historical past or the context in which we live in because of neocolonialism and these forces that keeps on acting on Africa. But I'm trying to say, let's not fixate on the problem. Rather, let's also focus on action more than anything so that we can be able to change the situation of Africa. When I say Africans are slaves in the mind, I'm trying to challenge you as a Black person to think about it. I'm trying to provoke thought. I'm trying to gather a group of young people who are independent thinkers who challenges these narratives. There's so many people on the continent, some of them great speakers, like Professor Lumumba of Kenya. I do respect that man, and he has done great work on the continent of Africa. But I feel like many people, what all they hear from his message is the problem, is him explaining in detail how colonialism and neocolonialism is affecting Africa, but not listening to anything that he says about the action that we ought to take. Or maybe he's just not saying much of the action that Africans need to take. I think many Africans hear the problem rather than the solution, and they're not trying to look for the solution. The solution is us having young Black talent rise up to the occasion and build companies that will challenge on the global market, and for us to take responsibility of ourselves, not cry as victims and complain and point fingers, but to turn the situation around. We have to try and inspire young people, the young generation of young people growing up in Africa, that what builds a great society or a great economy is also you and I. It is you and I who must ask ourselves, what can we do to solve Africa's problem? Not what our leaders can do, because you can see they're not doing much. The moment we realize that we have a duty to play in this battle, then you will realize that we don't need a savior, because there's no savior coming. And as much as we have all these problems, how can we solve them? Let's fixate on the solution of the problem. How can we challenge the status quo? Our economies are being dominated by white monopoly capital. What can we do as Black people in order to turn that around? In as much as it seems like it's an insurmountable mountain that we cannot climb, but we should be able to start somewhere and do something. We should be able to start building our own businesses so that we can also build and become competitive on the global marketplace. We need young Africans who can become great scientists. We need young Africans who can build tech companies. We need to inspire young people, not tell them every day and teach them that they are a victim. It doesn't help, because more and more of them, you can see they are sitting back and they are being indoctrinated by these messages that we are spreading all over, some of them for political gain, but it is damaging to our young people. We must tell our young people, we must tell each other, you and I as young black folks, we must have platforms where we come together and challenge each other to become great, to become brilliant, to outcompete our rival. We cannot be great by complaining. I will repeat that over and over again. We cannot be great by reading books about what happened or what is going on, what is wrong with the continent, who else is influencing. It means we are not influencing. How we become great is by influencing. Everybody else is influencing Africa. We can talk about Western influence, Chinese influence, Russian influence, But we ourselves, we are not influencing Africa. What we need to do is focus on influencing Africa and transform Africa. How do we do it? Block by block. The people, the individuals, you and I are the people who can make Africa great. It's not about the leaders. It's not about the politics. Yes, those things play a role in what happens in our policies and everything else. That conversation can be had, but I'm refusing the idea that we must sit back and complain. If I say don't think like a slave, trying to challenge your mind so that you also see what is wrong with us as Africans, not only what is wrong with them. The idea that it's all about them, that's what I'm refusing. It's not all about them. And the moment you externalize responsibility like that, it means they must change for anything to change for Africa. But that's not going to happen because they are not going to change. The more you talk about it, the more time you waste. But if we act, if we do something about it, that's how we can build a greater society and a greater Africa. There are things that we can do as individuals. There are things that you and I must do in order to transform Africa. This is the conversation that we are having, that our fathers and our grandfathers fought for the land of Africa to be free so that we can have rights to our land that was colonized. But after that, when that land is taken back, why are we not able to feed ourselves? If our grandparents died for that land to come back to us, it has come back to us, but we cannot feed ourselves. How is that possible? We need to ask ourselves these questions. Have we become slaves voluntarily? Why are we running away from our own land? Why are we fixated on migrating and running away from these problems instead of sitting down and working the land? Let's have young people willing to till the land. Young people that are growing up today do not want to till the land and they do not want to work the land. How are we going to feed ourselves? That's why I'm challenging the mindset that we are leaving that land that our grandparents died for and living, going to Europe again so that we can go work in somebody else's farm. Isn't that slavery? Thousands of Africans died in the Mediterranean Sea when they were being transported by the slave owners and the slave traders. And today, voluntarily, young people are dying in the Mediterranean Sea, trying to cross to Europe, running away from motherland, Mother Africa, the land that our grandparents fought for, the land that our grandparents died for, in order for us to have it so that we can be able to sustain ourselves, so that we can be able to feed ourselves. Whatever situation we have in our continent, it is for you and me to fight, to stand, so that we can change the situation, so that we can better ourselves. It can be political, it can be anything. The solution is not to run away. The solution is to stay right here and fight so that we can build our own continent. If it is political, we need to deal with it. It is you and me who can deal with it right here on our continent. So don't be offended when I ask these questions. I'm trying to provoke thought. I'm trying to gather young people who are independent thinkers, who question things. How is it possible that after we have fought for the land and we gain the land back, we cannot feed ourselves? How is it possible that the white man is capable of doing certain things and we are not capable of doing it? Isn't it disgusting and embarrassing that we are not able to do those things ourselves? We must challenge ourselves. That is the essence of Black excellence, challenging ourselves as Black people to become excellent.